Basic purpose for today is challenge rules, very brief, right? Because they're written, printed, and I'm putting a lot of instructors on the teams for your guys' enjoyment. The majority of it is so I can go over how we will be arranging our diets. And yes, I am putting responsibility on people to take control of their own diets, right? So I'm going to give you all the tools and all the pieces. You got to do 1 hour of homework tonight. That's it. So you have to calculate out what you need to be consuming for the duration of this challenge. Fair enough? Cool. So let's just start off with the challenge is 6 weeks. We are going to be separating up everyone into 2 teams. 2 teams will have 3 coaches per team for you guys to rely on. Love these treats. So for that, they will be points of reference, right? So it's just this whole delegation system. So if you guys have questions, ask the coaches. If the coaches have questions, they ask me. Cool? Makes life easier. So, that being said, we have a couple of different ways that we're going to score the challenge. The challenge is to motivate and encourage you guys to stay honest with your diet, to put some effort into it, and to hopefully take home a life lesson on how to manage our energy needs, right? Instead of like a mental thing, eating's a responsibility, okay? Food is medicine. If you ask any registered dietitian, sure, yeah, go ahead. If you ask any RD, they're going to tell you food is medicine, period. And that's because it's what can make or break us. Okay? So, that being said, challenge, 6 weeks. We have points that go towards being successful in the challenge, right? We're in the generation of the millennials, right? Everyone gets participation awards, right? Blue ribbons around just for Colby. But really, it's the more you participate, the reason that we're doing that is because if you participate a lot, you're going to see more results. And then that's going to earn rewards. And then for certain types of participation, you get a bid in a drawing for that $500 travel suit voucher. Okay? Figured that's the best way to do it instead of just going to buy a cruise somewhere and then say, oh, here's the dates, take it or leave it. Okay, enough said with that. We are going to have activities every weekend that will be community-based, group-based, right? Regular members are not allowed to attend. Why? Regular members drink booze, and we're trying to stay away from that for 6 weeks, right? I don't want to take us all axe throwing and hatchet throwing if, the prerequisite when you walk in the door is 2 beers and an axe. Not conducive to our goals or surviving.
Can we do that right after the 6 weeks then?
If you want, sure. I was going to have other activities, other group gatherings here just to try and promote the sense of community, especially in the fall. It's a little more fun. People's lives are calming down, and that way we can motivate each other and stay accountable. Cool? Any questions about challenge that were not asked and answered via email? We had questions come in, and then hopefully they were answered via email to everyone because everyone's got the same questions. Only the brave will ask. So, questions? I thought you were going to raise Carol. You're waving.
So once you register, it sends the email and you get the Wi-Fi Rise and all that jazz. But what I didn't find was the portion where I could sign up for my measurements that drops into the other wad.
So you're going to talk to that gentleman right behind you there who has got that system down.
Okay, so I just need that attachment.
Yep. And so it'll be, so as soon as you do that, he adds the 4 sessions to your account, then you can see and schedule. Okay. For the sake of this challenge, when you are logging your food, you are keeping track of your points in Wi-Fi Rise. I know there's multiple apps that do with it. You're putting your food in the Wi-Fi app. Okay? If you don't have it, you will get it at some point after today or by Monday. So in the Wi-Fi app, there is a food journal portion that has water intake, sleep, notes, food logging, and you can even assign a coach and you can get request a review of your nutrition. So if you wanted to say, okay, well, for this 6 weeks, Emily is an instructor on my team. I'm making her my nutrition coach, and for the first week, I'm sending her a review every day saying, am I on track? Okay, and they can see that, and they can comment.
Can you just repeat, which one did we put in, Rise?
So RISE is simply just challenge management, right? So we tally our points in. That's it. It's got info, and we keep track of our points. The interactive portions will be in the Wodify app. So that's the app where we can log our food, where we can log our stats. When you get measured, put it in your notes section on the day you got measured, right? So case in point, I get measured today. My stats are whatever centimeters of circumference. My weight is whatever. I'm going to go into my nutrition journal in Wodify, and I'm going to go to my notes and write that down, as well as, you know, what I ate for the day and how much beer I had today so far.
In Rise, there should be a section where you can input your measurements.
For the measurements? Yes.
When the challenge starts.
Once the challenge starts.
Oh,
It doesn't start until Monday.
okay.
So, yeah.
Correction on that. Okay, so for the measurements sake, you guys can put it in the RISE app. Nutrition still goes in Wodify. Cool? I didn't just confuse everyone.
So that's the black app, and then also the white and red app on the App Store. There's a black one, and then a white and red one. You have to both.
That's a very good point.
If you type in Wi-Fi, like 4 different apps come up between a black one and a white and red one.
Can you actually, do you know how your phone cats screen share? Air, something for Apple people? So you can pull up the App Store and share your screen on the monitor.
So we're logging
Pull up items.
each individual, like, thing, like, itemized, not like by age to the standard.
So here's my statement with this. Saying I ate to the standard is a loaded gun. Okay? So if I eat to the standard and I rely on that data, then if I'm not getting the result I want, there's no one on the planet that can help me. If you put, the more work you put in, the more help you can get. So if you put details in it, and you say, I had this much of this much of this, and this much of this, and not guessing, like if you measure it out, or even snap a picture, details help with success. Okay? So just saying I ate paleo for 6 weeks, when in reality I was gorging myself on sweet potatoes and prime rib roast, right? I ate paleo, right? Still 250 pounds, right? So, all right. Aside from that, any other questions? These are good. This is good stuff. I have no more time for questions. Okay. Next, we're going to go over managing our diet. So, pick a color, Colby.
Blue.
Okay. All right, so what we need first is to understand a couple of things. I hope he knocks down this side as well. Okay, so with this challenge, with our diets, we have macronutrients to consider. So we're going to get a macronutrient breakdown, and we're going to get a calorie value. Okay, so for this to occur, we have to know that what each macronutrient and alcohol, which is going to be a little bit of incentive for you guys, and what it's worth. Okay, so a gram of fat, 1 equals 9 calories. So we get that. So this is going to help you guys later. Carbohydrates, 1 gram equals 4 calories. Protein, 1 gram equals 4 calories. Alcohol, 1 gram equals 7 calories. Right? So for my incentive for this challenge, drinking alcohol while you're on this challenge can be closely related to drinking liquid fat. How does that sound? Right? Okay. So if you want to drink bacon fat in your glass and it's not a Bloody Mary, go for it. Also, alcohol has this effect on your body where it inhibits fat metabolism. So if we're having ourselves like a nightly cheat or something like that, the presence of alcohol in our system stops the process of breaking down fat. Okay? Until that alcohol is metabolized. Okay, and if alcohol is consumed in enough, like in a high enough dose, it actually can wreak havoc on our hormones. Okay, specifically for males, believe like the studies are on like 10 or more drinks in a night, and your testosterone goes down 40% for the next 5 days. Right? So that's something to consider when we're doing this stuff. That's why hormones play a huge role in what we're trying to do, which is why we're trying to balance out the equation, which is why we're trying to balance our macronutrients, which is why we're trying to keep wild cards like this out of it. Okay, that way we can figure out a good way to eat for our lives for the long haul. Cool? Everyone got that? Good? Should have Brian teach us. Okay, so the gist of it, we are going to be taking, and I gave you guys in the email the links to calculate an estimate of your basal metabolic rate, right? So BMR. Okay, BMR is the baseline calories that we need to consume to maintain, right? This is what our body utilizes. Then we take activity level. Raise your hand if you think you have a high activity level day to day. If you raise your hand, you're probably a liar. According to the books, no one in here, unless you are a legitimate construction worker, not like I'm on the side of the road waving a flag, right? But unless you are doing heavy labor or you are a professional athlete, etc., do you get a high activity level? For the record, so that you guys are aware, okay? So if you think you're active, and you are active more than 5 hours throughout your workday, you can be in the moderate category. Otherwise, for the most part, we're all low activity. Yes, even us hanging around in the gym, walking around all day, eating food and shit. Low activity, okay? Cool. So with that, we get our net. We get our daily requirement of calories. So, all right. So what we need to do with this challenge is everyone's waving their hands. I don't know if you.
The train's on.
The train's going. Let's pick that door back up. What we're doing after this, I'll start speeding up my speech. Sorry. So we have our daily intake. And we have to figure out how much weight we want to lose. Okay? If you are not heavily overweight, which in my opinion we don't have any in here, right? That are, there's no one that should be going into a heavy deficit. Meaning, if we want to lose 1 or 2 pounds a week, I would encourage everyone in this room that 2 pounds a week would be on the high end, right? There's such a thing as safe weight loss. Right? So I would say around 1 pound to 1.5 pounds is what we should be shooting for, if anything, and then you can make adjustments from there. But we need to figure out how much we need to intake. 1 pound of fat equals 3,500 calories. Okay? So if we want to lose 1 pound a week, 500 calories a day, we need to subtract from our intake. So we need to net this number minus 500 equals net intake. And I'm calling it the net intake before showing what a gross intake would be, because we have to factor in what our day looks like, what our exercise looks like. So everyone follows me from here, right? Okay, cool. So from here we have our net intake. And we need to figure out need to figure out what our exercise is going to be like. We need to figure out if we are doing a 5K on the weekend. We need to figure out whatever our activity level is for the day-to-day basis, right? So that activity, even if you're coming in here to exercise, keep in mind with the challenge, we're trying to do 4 days a week of activity. 20 minutes. 20 minutes of activity is like, you know, unless you're doing some killer stuff, it's probably between 200 and 300 calories for the most part, okay? So let's just say that we did this. We had our net intake and we exercised 300 calories, okay? So I'm going to put, just for fun, these numbers on here. So we're going to say my basal rate is 3,000. My activity level is low. Okay, my daily intake is 3,250, and I want to lose a pound a week. So my net intake is 2,750. Yeah, you guys follow me? Cool. And then all of a sudden I exercise 300 calories. So I need to make sure I consume calories back in on top of my normal diet to make sure I hit that number. Because this is the scheduled number for me to lose weight. Right? If we go too far in the red on something like this, we will stop burning fat. Your body will hold on. Right? If we go above the number, well, we all know what happens when we go above the number. Fair enough? Everyone following? Groovy? Good. All right. So from there, can you erase this? Please good. All right, cool. We got to take this net of 2,750, and we need to put it somewhere, right? We need to distribute it among macronutrients. We know what a macronutrient is: carbs, fats, proteins, right? Just went over that, just making sure. So we could go in one of 3 directions for this challenge. This is why we're doing this. So we can break down most of humanity into 3 body types: an ectomorph, a mesomorph, and an endomorph. And for the sake of me staying out of as much trouble as possible, I gave you guys the links to figure it out. Okay? So I can just tell you that I am more of a endomorph body type. Okay? So examples. This isn't to the T. This is just for the sake of you guys understanding what we're dealing with. So we have and yes, these are like big in the fitness world terms, and you only need to know them for the sake of it's going to dictate how our body processes macronutrients. Okay. Bless you. So, if we have a pie chart for our macros, and we'll say, all right, we'll go with me first. So, I am an endomorph. I need we get something like that for ratios for macros: carbs, fats, and proteins. Okay, we get someone on the ectomorph side, which I'll call him out, who's not here, Ray, skinny britches, right? So skinny britches can eat carbohydrates all day. He processes very quickly. He also has a hard time putting on weight. So if he's someone who's trying to add muscle mass, he would have to take his macro portions into account, what he needs in order to put on significant muscle mass, right? And the goal should always be, we need to put on some kind of muscle mass. Why? Because that helps support our body, support our skeletal structure, and it also helps support our metabolism, right? So anyone that thinks that I don't need muscle is lying to themselves. You need it, okay? I don't want Liza to look like me, but she needs to be stronger than Colby. So, all right?
She already is.
She said 2 weeks.
She already is stronger than Colby. Okay, so ectomorph would be looking like type of body that we have, right? And we can change and progress, we can have little bits of hybridization, right? So we could say, well, I'm kind of in between. Well, that very well may be true. So what you have the liberty to do is to adjust, right? The one thing that you can do for yourself is say, you know what, I know that I don't handle high amounts of carbs that well, right? I tend to get puffy or I tend to gain weight pretty quick. Well then, shift the balance a little bit, okay? And that's what we're here to help you do. That's what our coaches are here to help you do, okay? So another part of that is with this challenge, we have a list of do's and don'ts. And yes, the list was just modified today because I don't know how to modify PDFs. Everyone else does. So things like gluten, we're pulling it out. Why? Because for the masses, there's probably a lot of people that don't tolerate it well. They just, consume it anyways, right? I don't tolerate it very well, but I like beer, so I'm willing to accept that compromise, right? There's certain things that you can accept, certain things that you can't. If dairy doesn't sit well with you, probably everyone around you knows about it, right? So we're removing that from the challenge as well. Okay? Guys laugh, I'm saying all this stuff for a reason. So that being said, we're taking out a lot of components in the diet that would irritate the system and also give you like a false positive or a false negative. I'm not losing weight, I'm puffy. Well, there's something in your diet that your body is holding on to water from. It might not necessarily be your body fat, right? Cool. Everyone follow? Moving along. So we have the knowledge to make our own calorie decisions. We are taking those calorie decisions and we are breaking them down into portions based off of our body type. And then from there, we can spell out our calorie intake accordingly. All right? What I would like everyone to do for the first week of the challenge is measure everything. It's a challenge for a reason, right? It's challenging. It's a challenge to put stuff in a measuring cup, to weigh things on a scale. If you don't have a scale, they're like $4 at GNC for a little scale.
So when you're measuring like meat, do you measure raw or do you measure cooked?
Measure cooked. Because the final product, I mean, if you have something that's, has a high fatty content or marbleized or whatever, a lot of it's coming out. So it's not like if you're eating it raw, measure raw. But for the most part, measure it cooked. All right? And then you guys can configure portion sizes accordingly. You guys follow most of this stuff? Is this good? You guys have any questions? Does this seem like it's over the top? Am I asking too much? No? Okay, cool. From there, can everyone check and see if you got the update?
Yeah.
You got it? Everyone's got it? Okay, cool. From here, this is how we're going to decide the way we're going to eat for the next 6 weeks. If we're having troubles, if we're not seeing progress, or the progress that we like, say something. Speak up and let's sit down and go over it. Okay? This is a chance that we can figure stuff out. Okay, but basically, if you want to sum this up in a nutshell, we are eating very close to paleo standards, except for most people have no problem with oats or quinoa. Quinoa is a seed and is a complete protein. Especially if you're on the vegetarian side, we just have to keep our macros into account, right? So I'll throw Ray again. Skinny Britches, Ray can eat all the quinoa he wants as long as it falls into his macro breakdown.
How do we know, how do I know, this is fitting into my...
The macros, carbs, fats, proteins, right? So we would need a resource that tells us how many grams of carbohydrates and fats and proteins are in the various foods that we eat, right? Kind of the question.
Yeah, calculating it in any reasonable amount of time.
So that's why I say take the first week and measure your stuff out. After the first week, you guys should be pretty confident in eyeballing your food, right? Yeah, nods or blank stares. I don't know what we got. Okay, so with that, your macronutrients, you can figure on a couple of simple rules. Green veggies are fair game at all times. They pretty much have such little caloric value that it's gonna expend more energy to consume it than it will to store. You know, like a full bell pepper, like if you had 5 bell peppers and you made your own little hummus thing, as long as you're not gorging yourself on tahini, then, which isn't on the list of okay, right? So olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, and modified. But like, if you had 5 bell peppers, you're totally in at like 60 calories. It's nothing, right? That's not to say that we don't hit our numbers though, right? That's like in red in what I sent you guys. Hey, not today. See? Told you it works. So that means that we need to make sure that we hit our numbers. This is not an exact science, right? Because we're not going to get a gas exchange measurement, right? And we have a little bit of flexibility. This is not to make you guys miserable, this is to support. So if you're a little bit under the number, it's not a big deal. If you're a little bit over the number, it's not a big deal. A large chunk of the fat burn that occurs will be at night at rest because our day's totaled, your body's recovering, and while we are exercising. Hence the 4 days a week of exercise. Okay? And that's about it. So from there, calculating our macros. So for Liza over there, so we can take that first week, calculate macros. A lot of this here, I guess I should say that first. Being consistent with your eating will help out a ton. So AKA not going out to eat at a different restaurant every day of the week, because then you're going to have to figure out how to make a special order at every restaurant to figure out so that they don't pour lard in it and whatever else that they're making, right? So no matter what kind of restaurant you're going, they're going to make it taste good. What makes it taste good? All the stuff that's probably not so good for us. So, being consistent with our nutrition, having a schedule, your body likes regimentation, will help all of this progress. Then, once you get your first week of stuff measured out, sorted out, you know what's in your food, it's pretty easy to eyeball it the remainder of the challenge. And then you are empowered for the rest of your life to say, I know what's in that, and I know what it'll do for me. Okay? Any questions?
Is there like an app that helps you? Like,
With that, so you could use like the livestrong.com. There's a site called Calorie King. Google right now, if you type stuff into Google, it brings the macros right up on it.
I know for the other challenge, Aaron had us on MyFitnessPal.
MyFitnessPal is a great resource.
Or
Okay?
My Plate or something on mine.
Right, so at this point in the world of apps, you know, it used to be 10 years ago that you had to go to the specific website to find the data, but it's pretty consistent now. All I say is that if something looks a little off, don't run with it. I would double check, right? Because if someone put the wrong data in and your burrito actually has 2,500 calories instead of the 400 that it looked like, then you can't just say, well, this is what it said, this is what it's going to do to my body. Reality will occur. Okay? All right. From there, I am done.
Could you repeat that, please?
The whole thing? It's on your camera, that's all you. All right? Okay, so if you guys wouldn't mind, before you take off, read through that email. It's only a couple pages. And make sure that you follow it, make sure that you feel empowered, make sure that you are comfortable, most important, with doing this. Okay?
Question. That food, the food chart that was sent out, is that like, you've mentioned some cheats with certain things, like is that?
Cheats are on you.
But that guideline, like hummus is like not necessarily in the zone of like doables, so.
I changed it, hummuses.
Oh, so
I'm okay with chickpeas. Here's my stipulation.
Where is
Sabra
that?
is not in your diet. Okay? Make it yourself. It's really easy, and you can make a ton of it as long as you don't eat a ton of it, right? Remember, portions are everything.
What was it? Hummus.
Hummus. Chickpeas.
Yeah.
So if you do chickpeas, avocado oil, and whatever spices, seasonings, as long as you're not dumping sugar in it, right, then it should be pretty good. You can roast your own red peppers, which actually tastes a little bit better, and then you can monitor the amount of sodium and everything else that's in it. But for that reason, right, chickpeas are not the enemy, because why? We're basing this off of, all I'm asking is be responsible. Like if you go to the link that I sent, you find out what is your body type, right? If you're like me, I can't have a ton of hummus, and it's not going to be good for me, right? Because it's heavier on the carbs than it is the protein. Quinoa is heavier on the carbs than it is the protein. 4 times the amount of carbs, actually. So keep in mind, I did put brown and wild rice on there, and I put oats on there. Nothing instant should go into your bodies, okay? Also, keep in mind the serving size of oatmeal and brown rice and stuff like that is a 1/4 cup. What do you think a 1/4 cup looks like?
Small.
Right? At that point, you need to decide, is it worth it? So, protein shakes in replacement of a meal.
Like recovery from workout.
Oh, fair game. Protein after a workout is mandatory.
Count it in the.
Yes, you have to. Why? Because you're also counting the workout. Okay?
But time frame and getting that.
So, if you guys are taking protein shakes, which you all should be if you exercise, then you should be having it within 30 minutes of your workout. Okay? Within 30 minutes. We want to get that in fast. That's why protein is so liquidy and powdery and dissolvable, because it gets in our body quickly and we can use it quickly. If, here's another suggestion, counting our macros, if we want to use them a little bit better, so you could take, let's say you need to have 120 grams of carbohydrates in a day. If you had 30 of those after your workout in the form of a piece of fruit, that would be just fine. That would be suggested. Hint, hint, wink, wink. It's good for you. It'll help your muscles. It'll help your next workout. So, if with the protein powders, this is going to be another thing that's going to help you while we are eliminating everything else, and you all of a sudden notice upset stomach or weird feelings or whatever around your protein shake, then we need to change the protein shake. Okay, it's a really good way of identifying what we're eliminating permanently, right? So we're eating this, we have no dairy, we try a protein shake, and all of a sudden you get the bubble guts, then guess what? Weight is probably not in your future. And so for those that, I mean, if you're budget friendly, the whey-based, if you don't like the whey-based, if you already know you can't handle the whey-based, you have many options. Whey, casein, you have egg protein, you have beef protein, you have vegan protein, you have hemp seed protein, you have lots of options. Okay, there is an option for everyone to do this. Okay? All right. Is that it? That's it? That's it, unless anyone has any more questions. Okay. All right, come Monday, I'm going to make an order for, everyone's going to get a shaker bottle so they can be responsible with themselves. I'm going to make my t-shirt orders, I'm going to make protein orders, and if anyone has anything specific you know in advance what type of protein you handle better, and please send it in an email as well as your shirt size. Please and thank you. Okay?
How much protein are you providing? Just a sample size? Like you're providing a container of protein per night?
Not to jumpstart it. And for that reason, some people might have, it's not going to be like an overabundance. But for the sake of protein sources, I mean, what irritates your body may be as simple as the source it comes from, or it may be as simple as the company that made it. So that's why it's, you know, like all things in life, treat it as a science experiment, isolate your variable, test the variable, and remove it if it's bad. Okay? Cool, that's all I got, guys.